When most people sell their RV, usually that's the last time they see it. But we sold Carl almost 3 years ago, and Carl's always with us.
He is.
And we're going to talk about that with our friends who bought Carl in this episode of Travels with Delaney,
The podcast.
Welcome back, everyone. My name's Patrick.
I'm Patty.
And today we are so excited to have our good friends, the Mlynarskis, here with us.
Woo-hoo!
And if you have followed our YouTube channel at all, then you know Mark and Karen.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, you guys have become like part of the channel somehow over the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, we're like residual celebrities.
Yeah. So we decided we'd ask Mark and Karen to join us to talk about, number one, how did you even find us? Because we did not know each other prior. And then we're going to talk about Carl, and which for those of you who are like, who is Carl? Carl was our Tab 400 that you currently own.
And we still call him
Carl.
Still call him Carl.
We don't want him to be confused.
So let's start right at the beginning. How did you find Travels with Delaney? How did it all start?
Well, Karen found you guys first, for sure. And I do remember she was going through this period of trying to convince me that we needed some sort of RV or travel trailer, and I didn't really want to have anything to do with that. And I distinctly remember, like, we'd watch YouTube in our bedroom typically, and I went down to get coffee or something, come back, and there's this guy on our TV. It must have been like a generator video or something. I'm like, why in the world are you watching this? Like, of all the things you could possibly be watching on TV, why are you watching this guy to run the generator?
I think your remembering is a little off, but let me help you.
Because I don't think the generator video came until way after.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, don't try. No, 2017, I had to have some surgery, so it took a long time to recover over that summer, and so I started watching videos, and I had two things I wanted to do: knit, read, and I couldn't do either to concentrate, so I started watching videos, and you are correct, I wanted
An RV.
an RV, but I was thinking more camper, like
Driving
Motorhome.
kind?
yes.
Motorhome.
Yeah,
Okay.
like a small van.
Oh, okay.
thing.
So like a Class B.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
And so I got kind of hooked on, because the ones that I didn't want the ones that you can just lay in and there's no bathroom.
Okay.
That wasn't an option. So I thought, okay, I could build a van. So I was trying to find out how to build a van, and I started watching all these things, and I thought, no, I can't. But the good thing about that was I know what I can do if I had to live in my van. I know how I can do that now. So
So YouTube educated you on how to
Yes,
live
it
in a
is.
van. Okay.
So I upgraded, and I thought, okay, I like the small ones, but I don't. And you didn't have Carl yet.
No, not
Oh, that's right. You
2017.
guys,
So, yeah.
you guys had the
And so
hummingbird.
that was the summer, and I kept looking at different, campers, and you caught my eye with the hummingbird because it was small, but it wasn't.
Right.
I didn't want humongous, so I have to ease him in to this, because you have to tell the story that the one time I wanted to go camping and you kept saying no, 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 and you came home and there was like an 8-person tent in our backyard fully fitted.
Yeah, that was when we had 3 kids at the time, and I never tent camped, I think, other than Cub Scouts, and she kept saying, we're going to go camping, and I said, no, we're not. And I did. I walked home, and there was a full tent set up in the backyard. And really, I probably should have stopped there, because we did go camping. We ended up going the Valley Forge. Mark had an ear infection. It was like 92 degrees at midnight every single night. And
Sounds
it was
like
just like blazing hot. And we had taken utensils to cook over a campfire. That's all we had were like pots and pans. I'm like, we're never, ever doing this again.
And roughly what year was that? Do you remember?
Mark would
Marky
have
was
been.
little.
It would have been like 1994.
It was pre-John.
Okay.
Pre-John.
Yeah, it was
So way before
John.
2017.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this was but the scars are deep.
Right.
They're-
So was that it? Was that one trip?
no.
Okay.
No, we did. We kind of, it's like eating a live toad first thing in the morning. Nothing worse could happen to you the rest of the
So
day.
you figured
that was our live toad, and it got better after
Oh
that.
yeah, we went to Gettysburg. We went to Chambers, like camped out there with friends.
Virginia again,
and then that was
blazing
the
heat.
downfall there.
Yeah, that was the last time we tent camped.
No, the last time was when you got sick and
Oh,
you
yeah,
took boys
yeah.
and ended up in the emergency room. And
Oh,
the boys
geez.
got to ride in the
So the history
ambulance.
doesn't sound
great.
good. No.
It wasn't like,
I was driving
boy, I
across
can't wait to
state
do
get
that
you.
again.
So did you end up buying a camper, or is Carl was it?
No, Carl was the first.
Okay, so
the
it's
first
just tent
camper.
camping
Because
prior.
and I told you that I had never even towed a trailer until we got Carl. So
Right.
and we were towing it
Yeah.
3 days after to Yellowstone.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, we'll get to that
All
here in
right,
a
all right,
second.
all right.
So somehow you're watching
Yes.
camper vans, and one of our videos must have popped up because you had no clue who we were.
No.
So the algorithm just fed you one of our videos, and then you're like, "Hey, small trailer," and so was it during 2017 that then you said, "Hey, Mark, I found something,"
Well,
or was it?
yeah, because then you caught on that I was watching these videos.
yeah, because they were always on. It wasn't like I caught on to anything. They were always
It's like,
on.
oh, you watching that again? So yeah, we just kept watching. I kept watching, and then you, like,
Well, that was right. I think that was right around when you guys had the hummingbird, and so
yeah. But I remember you having the hummingbird and then getting Carl.
Right, which was at the end of 2017.
Yes.
So we started the channel in June of 2017. So you found us
Right
somewhere
at the
very
beginning.
early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then do you remember seeing the hummingbird, or was it more?
No, I do because I
Okay.
remember you had that whole saga with the refrigerator
The ice.
not
Okay.
working. So that was sort of like
The ice
our
baby
cereal.
summer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had friends that you met that had the same like hummingbird,
Yep.
similar hummingbird.
Yep.
Barb and
Yeah.
Dave.
Isn't this sad that we know, like, and then you?
I don't
So-
even remember stuff of that.
So then we buy the hummingbird. We buy Carl or
Yep.
the Tab
At
400
Christmas
at the end of 2017,
Yep.
and then
in Florida.
And then I honestly don't remember the first time that I know you were commenting on live
stalking.
streams.
Well, yeah, we were. That's what my daughter Mary said. Like, Dad, what are you doing? Why are you meeting these people on YouTube?
But I remember though, I would like before you chimed in, I would type like, like if I was looking for a camper, like tell me a little bit, or some I forget what it like, and then I remember you said make sure you rent one before you buy one.
Okay.
Like things
That sounds like
that.
something I
Something
would
like you
say.
would say, yeah.
Yeah, but I was like,
But I want to buy
I want
one.
So so here's what I remember is I remember in 2019. So we'll fast forward.
Right.
This is what I remember. I remember receiving either an email. I don't remember if it was an email or a message.
It must have
through-
been on Messenger because I don't think
Okay.
because I think after we met, you had sent me your cell phone number. And I think that's when Mary said, like, Dad, why would he send you his cell phone number? You don't even know this guy. Like, what if you're a stalker? Why would he do that?
Well-
and it never dawned. I mean, I'm an engineer. It never dawned because I'm
Right.
asking for a cell phone number. I want to go. Yeah.
So this
But-
was December of 2019.
2019.
So-
Correct.
I get we'll say messenger
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, I saw you're headed to Sugar Creek to pick up Carl.
Right.
Can I meet you for lunch?" And I remember sitting on the couch saying, "Oh, somebody wants to go out to lunch when I go to Sugar Creek to pick up Carl." And what did you say, Patty?
Well, I don't remember my exact
Well,
words,
roughly.
but I remember I was like, who is this person? Where are you meeting? And when and
Yeah,
why?
she was like, "Make
and-
sure you meet in a public place."
Yeah.
But here's what I remember though. I remember saying, "Oh, I know Mark because I think at that point
We had been on live
You had
streams,
been
I
on
think.
live
Yeah.
streams, and you had, I think, PayPal'd us to support the channel type thing.
I'm like, we don't know this person.
And I said I do. I mean, I did in the sense that I
was
knew the
worried.
name.
Right.
Did you know, though, at that time that we did not have a camper?
I think you guys
Because I
did
think
know
you
that.
did know that before,
Yeah, I
because
think
it was
so.
kind of the joke.
That you guys, right? That you
We-
would follow. You were following our channel, having conversations, but you didn't even own an RV.
And had never owned an RV.
Right.
It wasn't like we
And-
were
Right.
Felt like
Right.
we were
looking
the,
for RV advice from you. It was like we didn't know anything.
So,
Because I remember the day you went to meet Mark.
right.
I had to go to work at school, and I'm like, okay. I said, I'm going to have my phone close by. I said, if you think this is going to be a hot mess or something's going down wrong, you message me help or something, and I will get 911 right there immediately. Because I
Right.
wasn't sure.
She was worried.
I was worried.
So I go to Sugar Creek and we meet at Wall House Coffee,
Right.
and we have a really nice lunch.
Mhm.
'Cause
I think I tested
and
you. How's
think
it going?
She did. If you remember, she texted me, and I think I said, "Oh, my wife was worried about me meeting a complete stranger."
I said, how you doing? You doing
and,
okay?
and I think I said, "Oh, he's really nice,
I said,
and we're
"Okay,
having a
good."
nice lunch." So,
Good.
and
All right,
then
well, just so you know, Mary had the same concerns.
Concerns?
It's like, what do you do, Dad?
I'm like, okay, good. It's all right.
because it could be scary on both sides. I mean, you at least knew who I was from the videos. I
Yeah.
guess,
Well,
but-
that's kind of the weird thing is because we saw you guys all the time, but you never
That's how
Right.
it goes.
you never
yeah.
saw us. So,
yeah. So what was the first T-shirt that you had on your travels?
Would it be
Like-
summer of
Like-
someday?
no, our first one just said hashtag on down the road.
Yeah, I didn't have that one.
And-
So
and had
what was
the-
the next one?
Was it summer of someday?
Might have been the summer of some
Was that
days.
just the circle
little
there?
Yeah.
circle here?
Yeah. And that was what year? 2019.
Summer of Someday was 2019, I think.
Yeah, it has
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was before
and that was-
we met.
Right.
Yeah, we
that
had
was your
shirt.
summer
And
I
I
had
trip.
my
so I would have
shirt.
recognized your name from the order on the T-shirt.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
But I remember there were two things about that lunch. Number one, I don't know if you remember. Oh, I know you'll remember this. But number one, you asked me a question, which was, if you ever want to sell Carl, will you give me first shot? And I remember thinking, I don't want to sell my trailer.
And I remember thinking, we're at least 2 years away.
Yeah.
Right. And you even said that. You did say, I'm in no hurry. I'm not pressuring
I remember
you.
that because you said, well, he's 2
Yeah.
years away.
Yeah.
He wants to. He's not ready to retire. He wants it when he retires.
Yeah, and you know, looking back on that, and I can't remember what I thought at the time, but I think it was, okay, I still have 2 years.
Right.
And, you know, it appeases her because she really
Right,
liked
right.
Carl, and I don't have to buy a trailer for 2 years. Maybe by the time we get to 2 years, she'll want a horse or something.
I just want a mini Highland
I think
cow.
that's what I was thinking, but I'm not real sure. But I'm thinking like this is way in the future.
And then the second thing I remember was you said, hey, can we go down and look at Carl, because I had to go right down the street.
Right.
And you said, and I want to show my wife. Well, I'm going to FaceTime her. And so I gave Karen
Oh, that's right.
a
I kinda forgot
FaceTime
about
tour.
that.
That was the
Oh,
first time
I
I met
remember that.
Karen.
I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah. and that was it. We had a nice lunch. I gave Karen a tour. So we just finished lunch, and this is our friend Mark Mlynarski. You know Mark and Karen. They've been on our channel as far as live streams, and you guys are always Russ and Carrie's Rosary Row. So Mark was so kind to drive over from Pennsylvania today to meet me for lunch. Unfortunately,
Karen was very unhappy that she could.
and
she
so
could
was
not
Patty.
drive.
So Patty
they
and
both had to
Karen are
work.
working, and we're out
Absolutely.
playing today. So we just finished lunch. We toured the town. What'd you think of the 400?
I really liked it. Oh no! Are you going to show
I-
this to Karen?
As I say, you may not want to say that on camera because if Karen hears it, but
Don't tell her.
okay, we'll just keep it between us that you liked it. So what's great about Mark and Karen is they follow us and Russ and Carrie, but they don't own an RV. So, which
Which is a little weird.
it's a little weird, but that's okay. We're glad you're with us though. So
Yep.
and then I think we chatted back and forth for a couple months.
Yeah.
And then we were camping almost,
Almost
3
the
years
same,
ago?
around the 13th.
3 years ago,
Yeah.
right about now.
Right, because we
we-
shut down in the 15th. It was right before shutdown of COVID.
Right. And
It was the
you
friend.
guys were. I think I know. You were planning the meetup in West Yellowstone.
That is correct.
Before COVID
That's
hit.
before COVID hit.
And I said to her, I said, well, we don't have a camper, but we could fly to Salt Lake City, drive to West Yellowstone, and we'll just stay at a hotel and then, meet up with those guys. And Russ and Carrie, Russ and Carrie were going to be there. So you made that announcement, and we said, hey, we're going to go. We had made plane hotel
reservations.
Oh, we had hotel reservations. We had plane tickets, and then it all changed.
And, well, before we get to that, though, in March, though, about 3 years ago we were at Mohican with the Fitches and the Shrags, and you messaged and said, hey, we're in Columbus. Do you care if we swing by on our way home and say hi?
The swing by radius. And, that's where it all started.
Yeah. And that was the first time it was the first time Patty met you.
Either one of you,
and, both of you.
Right.
And it was the first time I met Karen in person.
Right.
And so.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago last week.
And that wasn't at all odd. I mean, because, people we've never met always come up to Patty and say, can you take your shoe off because I need to measure your foot. Do you remember that, Karen? Because Karen was knitting Patty a pair of socks.
Oh my gosh!
Oh gosh!
I forgot about that.
My goodness!
Wow, that is a little
I
weird.
remember going. I'm looking at.
So that's a lot weirder than meeting you in a coffee shop.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because I do remember it was a chilly day like today. We were outside a car. We had a little fire going, and she asked me to take off my shoes so she could measure my foot.
How did we ever stay together?
And I remember looking over. I must have looked over towards you, Mark, or something, the area, and you go, it's okay. She's making you some socks.
Yeah.
He kind of was trying to console me, like, it's okay.
She doesn't. I didn't smell the shoe. I didn't do anything. I just.
So you did. I'm like, but my toes aren't done. They're ugly toes. It's winter. So anyway, that's the shoe.
But thanks for sticking with it.
I still have the socks.
But Karen got to see Carl in person for the first time,
showed her again,
and
the puppies.
That was March. That was early March, and then COVID hit.
Right, we shut down.
And I'm not sure where this thing went off the rails, but
June.
Well, no, it was before June. I want to say it was in May.
May, maybe.
Probably May. For some, I think I do know what it was. We had been camping.
Oh, I know.
And we were having some issues with Carl.
Yes.
Not issues with Carl, but us with the pup, the sleeping situation. And I think in our midweek update, we started talking a little bit more about we need something bigger.
Because I know with COVID and the way our schedules were going, and I was just checking everything on the computer and checking in with kids on phone, we were able to take Carl out.
Right.
And so we were going out camping, and it was starting to get warmer. We were having troubles with both pups in the bed. We had no room for anybody.
And I remember getting a phone call from you one night, and you said, hey, we just watched your midweek update, and I'm getting the sense
that you're
wanting to, and I remember you saying, I know I said 2 years, but when you're ready to sell Carl, we'll be ready.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I must have had a stroke.
I don't know.
No. It's the power of prayer.
Yeah. And so I remember I was like, I think I even said, well, Mark, I don't want to rush you. And you said, no, I mean, if that's what you guys want to do. But I remember that kind of gave us like the green light in the sense of like, well, we
game on.
Yeah, we hadn't really thought about it, but then it was almost like you gave us the green light to think about it.
I know.
And then, and I do remember this, and I think we talked about this in the past, but so we started getting serious. We were looking at our options. I had talked to Paul, the Air Force guy, Chamberlain, out in Maryland. We were looking at a Grand Design. We talked to PJ at Princess Craft about a Lance, and we ended up kind of settling on Lance was the way we were going to go. And I remember the day PJ called, and she says, I have this Lance. It's basically what you want. Here's the price. And I remember I said, PJ, I remember, do you remember this? I was out in the driveway because back then we had such horrible cell service there at the house. And I said, PJ, can I call you back in a couple hours? And she said, yeah, there's no rush. I'll hold it for a couple of days for you. And I went back in and we were talking, and you remember we basically had come to the conclusion we weren't going to do the deal.
Because is that the day we went back and forth,
yes. And we kind of talked ourselves out of it because of the finances and with COVID and everything going on. And I hadn't called PJ, but you called before I could call PJ. And you said, hey, no pressure. Wanted to let you know the credit union just called, and we're all set up to buy Carl.
Yeah.
And I didn't even tell you that I had decided not to do the deal. And I said, great, thanks. I'll let – and
You know, and I don't know that you ever told me that.
yeah,
by the way.
I thought I had, and so I went back in. I said, we're going to buy the Lance.
We're buying the. We were back
and
on.
she goes, what just changed? I said, Mark just called. He's got the financing. They're excited. And I said, you know what? You only live once. Let's do this. And I called PJ and said, PJ, we're going to do it. And then everything just went fast.
It
because
was
by
fast.
the way, I lied about that. So
you
just
okay. But so and then the process went really fast because we had to fly to
that was,
we had to drive very quickly to Texas.
in a quick time.
Well, it was and it was certainly a lot tougher for you guys because you were getting rid of a trailer, buying a trailer, and
I just remember that June was seemed stressful and long.
It was very stressful
because we were waiting on all these kind of like your bells and
we had to wait for
up.
Princess Craft to call us to tell us they were ready.
Yeah, in sequence.
Because they were going to do work on the trail. They put on solar and stuff. So we were kind of waiting on that phone call. Plus, I had paid off Carl, and so we were waiting on a title
to come back.
So
right?
we went to Texas, picked up the Lance, came home, and then it was like waiting, and we were on a deadline because if you remember, we had to get to West Yellowstone for the
because you had the
camp out.
meetup.
Yeah,
right.
And looking back and talking to people, why I went, there was ways we could have done this without me paying off Carl, and your bank and my bank could have hooked up, and this wouldn't have been so stressful. But I didn't know it at the time. But yeah, now and here's what I also remember is saying to you, Mark, why don't you just take Carl to West Yellowstone? And you were like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
You're like, I
that's
wanna
what
do
he
a
said.
short trip
Absolutely
first.
not.
Yeah.
You said we're just going to stick to our plan.
And it was. I had never towed a trailer before, and I said to her, I said, I want to go to like a park 10 miles away.
Makes sense to
not
me.
1,800 miles away.
Even
like,
though
what are we going to do? Just the engineer in me is like, what are we going to do if we break down? Blah 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 blah.
Right.
And little did I know you two were sort of talking behind my back.
Well, I don't think. Wait a minute.
It was a mention. I think Carrie was involved in this.
Oh, I'm
for
sure
some
she
way.
was.
Carrie might have, because, by the way, and for those of you listening, when we refer to Russ and Carrie, we're talking about all of our friends, Russ and Carrie they used to have the channel, The Roads We Roam. And so during this time, we had become friends with Russ and Carrie, and you guys had become friends with Russ and Carrie.
Right.
And we were doing the camp out with Russ and Carrie.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, I think maybe you and Carrie had talked, and then I think you actually might have either texted me or called me because I knew you were scheming to take Carl.
Well, here's the thing. Here's
encouraging.
The thing.
The word is encouraging.
Okay.
What had happened was and I had told you we had plane reservations, we had a direct flight to Salt Lake City, and we had hotel reservations. Well, the National Park Service right away, because 2 of the nights were at Old Faithful Inn, and they canceled that right away. The airlines sent me an email and said, well, your direct flight is now through somewhere, and you have a 4-hour layover there. And so, like, the total travel time was like 13 hours. And I said, well, we might as well just drive out.
Yeah,
Right.
and then with the other stuff, between the flight being changed because they kept changing it, and then us losing that, and then the different hotels. But the problem was I was trying to figure out where to go camping, and when that all happened, I called them, and nothing was open.
Yeah, the Grizzly RV park.
Right.
And so she was, and this is the part that I didn't know. The day you guys were driving out with Carl to drop it off,
Right.
she's calling
I made one
West
last
Yellowstone, and a site came open.
for the exact dates that were needed for the 2, because there were 2 that we
And
needed.
I think she was kind of afraid to tell me because my answer would have been, no, I'm not pulling a trailer to West
No.
Yellowstone.
You said to me, because you knew I couldn't get them, that
Did I?
if they opened up, and you're thinking they
where
will
you
never
screwed up.
open
Yeah,
up.
I know.
And if we get exactly what we need, we will go. And what happened? I was on the phone because you called and said we're coming into Beaver,
Yeah,
and I was on the phone
that's right.
with
You were.
Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And I said to him, The exact dates are open.
Because I do remember, I think when we got to your house, this all kind of. But I kept reassuring you that actually this was a good thing because you were going to follow us.
Yep.
So
We
you were
would
going to
train you.
We were going to train you.
which is why I ended up saying, okay, I'm losing this argument.
Yeah.
How can I
Well,
I give
yeah.
up.
how can I back out of this gracefully?
And look where you are now, though.
I know.
Because it's like called concierge service.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where that's where
Yeah.
it came
So
in.
we went together.
See, here's the thing, though. If you sell the lands to somebody, if you ever decide to upgrade into another RV, you have to. I like to think that we're the only ones with the concierge or whatever service.
I thought you were going to buy the lands. I thought that
I thought you were going to take the land.
Oh boy.
No?
Carl,
No.
Carl can't go unless no.
So I remember, so we're all headed west. And I remember saying to Patty, and this was probably 2 days into the trip, and I said,
Is it before or after you hit the? Sorry.
We'll get to
you
that.
hit something?
Your awning.
Oh, no, that was the first night.
That was the first night.
Yeah, yeah, Mark,
That
when we
was the
say
first night, Mark.
the awning is out, Mark's coming in, it's really late, it's dark out, I go out, and next thing I know, like, I hear thud, I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I think it actually sent the awning in because it has
Yeah.
the wind
Yeah.
sensor. Yeah. It was fine.
That was a strong gust.
It was fine.
Yeah, and
That's
I
fine.
made it all the way to Illinois, and that was the first mishap
Right.
we had.
That's
But this
okay.
was like a couple days later, and I said to Patty, and I don't remember where we were, but I said,
Getting gas.
yeah, we were getting gas, and I said to Patty, I said, man, Mark must have towed stuff before because I go, the way
He's
he
brave.
rips into these gas stations, like I'm very cautious about. I try to go on outside pumps and things, and you just pull in like you were just a car, and so I think I said to you, I asked you, I said, Mark, you've done quite a bit of pulling, and you go, no, it's the first time I ever pulled anything other than, I think you told me you'd pulled like a
I
U-Haul
may
trailer.
have pulled a U-Haul with
With-
like youth group or something.
Yeah, you said like with backpacks or something.
Yeah, it wasn't very big.
And I remember I got back in the truck, and I said to Patty, I'm like, this is his first time actually towing. He just doesn't know any better. Like, he's just, and that kind of became a joke thing.
Thank you, my friend.
Well, you missed.
Oh, the cone.
Oh yeah, well
That's another story.
That's another
Yeah.
podcast.
That's a whole. Yeah, that might be a whole separate.
And
podcast.
that didn't even include a trailer.
No. Oh,
So,
poor Mark.
I think we kind of have to give the short version now because people are going to be like, "What's up with the cone?"
All right.
So,
I'll
Okay.
tell. So after they sold us the trailer, we went out to eat, and we were in Eastern Ohio. We went to a restaurant, and I was giving. They were going to follow me to get out of the place.
Yeah, you're taking
And
us
so
to the highway.
I turned on a little road in this plan. Did not see this orange cone, and I drove over it. And then Karen said to me, "You ran over a
No, I said, are you going to
and these
stop?
two are
well, I did not
laughing
turn. Oh, I didn't turn because I'm like,
behind us.
yeah.
And
We didn't
and,
turn.
And then I drag it for a while, and it gets out from under the car, and I turn around and go back, and she says to me, "Are you going to go back and pick that up?" I said, "No." It was embarrassing enough that I drug
Here's
it
the
for
thing.
50 yards. But
Not only did we're sitting at this
Watching
intersection,
this go down.
there was a couple walking on a sidewalk, here, and they literally stopped to watch you drag this cone, and then you started backing up, and then eventually the cone did come out. Oh my gosh, it was hilarious.
Well, all I could think was, oh my gosh, and they just sold us Carl. They're going to say, give it back.
And then I remember day 2 of that trip out west, we were at the I-80 truck stop.
Yep.
You found a little orange cone
Yeah.
because Patty
Yeah.
had been giving you so much crap
yeah.
about it. And you bought, and we still have. Well, actually,
I do. It's in the house now.
It's in the house now.
Yeah.
But we still have that cone that you bought, Patty.
And you
so.
signed it too, Patty. Love Mark.
Yeah.
Put on the code.
But yeah, so that's how. And then that summer, so we traveled all the way to
Yep,
Yellowstone
yep.
together, spent the week together.
Yeah.
And you guys headed home. We
Yeah,
we
we
stayed
had to
on
get
out.
home, yeah.
right.
But this summer will mark our 4th summer to travel
Isn't
together.
that crazy?
I know.
To think about.
You know,
It seems
and when
like
I saw
yesterday.
that picture popped up, when the 4 of us all met the first time,
Yeah.
Apple pops those things up on your phone.
Right.
And and I sent it to you, and you said, "Wow, it's only been 3," and it feels like a lot
Right.
Longer, doesn't it?
than
Yeah.
3 years.
Oh my gosh.
You know, it's kind of funny. We you got an RV or a travel trailer, and I feel like we got some of
I
the
think we got
nicest
better,
friends.
yes.
Yeah, we got the
Well,
better
thank
end of
you.
this deal. So
I don't know about that, but thank
no,
you.
no, because that's. I mean, it's funny how we look back and we're like, oh my gosh, you guys are like so important to us that we couldn't even put into words, and it all started because you were stalking me. No.
My daughter would say that for sure.
No, but no, it's but yeah, and so let's talk about Carl then.
Yes.
So
Sure.
have you enjoyed Carl?
Oh, absolutely. I'm without a doubt. And we've obviously camped a lot with you guys, but we've also camped quite a bit on our own, and it's for us especially, it's a perfect size. I mean, you guys have the pups, but
Sure.
For us, we can pull Carl into the tent sites.
Right.
Yeah,
and we
you
have,
sure
and
can.
we
Which is
have
why
done
we
that.
liked him.
Yeah, I mean, there are no sites off limits
Yeah,
when
you
we
get
go to
some
state
awesomely
parks.
cool sights with that little trailer.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy to tow.
Right.
It's a lot easier to tow with the truck now instead of
Sure.
the Highlander. But yeah,
Well, our youngest recently, early, got married. And so that means that this is the first time in 36 and a half years that we've been childless
at home.
at
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
So it was really nice because it's like the clubhouse. It's our adult clubhouse.
And I know what, Miss Karen, you sleep in the wedge?
I'm the wedge girl.
Yeah, in the wedge.
So.
Yeah.
What have you had to do anything maintenance wise since you've owned it?
No, we're
Replace
dropping.
the black tank.
Oh
Not
yeah,
levels
yeah.
or
Well, that
knobs.
summer we were coming home. We had a
Mishap with the-
retread roll under it, and we had to replace the black tank handle. But no, we haven't. We haven't really had to do a lot. We're getting the glycol replaced on the way home
Right.
from here, and but
Just
with
we had them do the trim, and he'd like tighten up the doors.
yeah,
Just
there was
minor.
nothing.
That was it.
was just minor.
It was nothing.
Yeah, nothing big.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's those trailers are built really well.
They are.
And, it should last you a long time. I mean, there's always going to be things that you're going to have to minor things. So
Yeah. So we can't buy the Lance.
you can't buy the Lance. Yeah. It looks like we're stuck with it.
All right.
So I'm curious. So this has been 3 years now, coming up on 3 years in June that you will have owned it. 3 years from June, will you still be in Carl, or do you think you'll be in a different RV 3 years from now, or will you not be RVing anymore? Will you get tired? Are you getting tired?
I don't think we'll get tired of it, just because the thing about a travel trailer is that you could use it or not use it. It's up to you, but you can go to places that you can't normally go, which we like to be outside. We like to, we like campfires. And the big thing that I didn't like about tenting was, number one, if it was hot, you were hot,
You're
and
stuck.
Right.
and if you wanted to go for a weekend, it took you 3.5 days to get ready, 3 days of camping, and then 3.5 days to clean up after
Yeah.
you got
And
back. So
washing
it was- yeah.
everything.
Yeah, we would all, because
Sleeping bags.
when we would take the 4 kids, we had 6 sleeping bags, and we would have to go to the laundromat because it was the easiest
Yeah.
thing. So the whole camping process
yeah.
was a lot more complicated than if you have a trailer. If you have a
Right.
trailer, you just you have a few things you have to put into it, and you take off, and you could do a two-day weekend pretty easily.
Sure.
So if you could, so you definitely will still be RVing. You think in 3
I
years?
believe
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
Think you'll still be in Carl 3 years from now?
If Carl's still up and running, yes.
Oh, he will be.
Yeah, and here's the thing. There's only the only thing that did go was the refrigerator, but we found a simple fix for that.
Right.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
did.
yeah. And we're just using it. We found out that just like a regular dorm refrigerator takes
Works.
very little. So
Draw,
we don't.
yeah.
We don't use a AC/DC refrigerator. It's just
Just a regular 110.
yeah, we plug it into the
AC,
inverter.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
but that works well.
If you could change one thing about the trailer, what would you change?
What's something you would want to change in it?
No curtain in the bathroom and make it sealed with a tinier sink.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's a combo request.
When we were watching, I think PJ did a video on the barefoot, and the one interesting thing about the shower is it's just like a wet room.
Right.
And so it just is completely.
Is the toilet in?
I think so. Yeah.
So it's a true wet bath. Where
Yeah.
Carl is kind of. I always used to say the Tab 400 had the driest wet bath in the industry because it technically is a wet bath. Except with that shower curtain, your toilet never gets wet. The sides never get wet, and but
you
the
can
barefoot,
have everything in the shelves and they don't get wet.
Yeah,
Right.
they have like closed down,
Right.
kind of clamshell
Okay.
type of things to store things, and so yeah, that would be kind of nice. So, but
And I think you actually said that, Karen. So it must be the same for both of you, then, right?
yeah,
the bath.
yeah, we talked about that when we saw the barefoot.
That's interesting because if you, let's say we still own the Tab 400, if you could have changed one thing about it, what would you have changed?
Oh dear Lord. I don't know. I can't really think of what I would change.
See, I know, right?
I can't think of anything.
I would add 2 feet onto it.
Oh, the size.
Yeah, if you'd make that 2 feet longer,
kind of like when they had the Tada.
yeah, and the bed. I don't think the bed
I couldn't
wedge
do
would
the
be
wedge.
so
you,
tight.
you guys always wanted to walk around,
Right.
bed.
I-
and
you know what?
that's certainly that. I mean, that could be a limitation for us in a few years too. So.
Honestly, I could have dealt with it not being a walk around if it just didn't feel so claustrophobic.
It was
in the
claustrophobic.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because that was the cool thing about the hummingbird. It was similar kind of
Yep.
thing,
but, it
but
didn't
the
have
way
It
the
was
back,
squared
the
up.
wedge didn't
Yeah.
come down like that. You could actually sit up.
I mean, don't get me wrong. A walk-around bed,
And
especially as
both
we're
sides.
getting older, is nice because it's easier to make. And if one of us
Right.
has to get up to go to the restroom, you don't have to wake the other
Making
person.
the other bed, I was like
But-
a flopping fish on it. So.
That's like, he goes, I have to make the bed. I'll stay outside until you're done.
That was always Patrick's job because I had my knee injury and I didn't want to put any pressure on the knee, but I would look like I was flopping around
Yeah.
on there.
Oh, I can remember when you did that whole video on how to
make the
a
bed.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, that doesn't look so hard, but it really is.
it's kind of a thing. Yeah, it's tough.
I had gotten fairly skilled
You're
at
good
it,
at it,
but
yeah.
Yeah, I was starting to wonder if you were a little reckless with the truth and that.
No, I mean, everything I said in there was true, but
Yeah, yeah.
all right. Well, thank you guys so much
Oh,
for
you're
taking
welcome.
time to
Yeah,
sit down and share this
absolutely.
story
Thank you.
with everybody. Like I said, there's so many people that always, as soon as we say Mark or Karen, people out in YouTube world, they know exactly who we're talking about. You've been in a lot of our videos and things like that, but I just thought it'd be great to sit down and talk about this so everybody knows how we actually became friends and
Well,
Celebrate our friendiversary.
Friendiversary. 3 years.
Yeah, well, we certainly have enjoyed our friendship over the years.
Oh,
and
we
we're
have
very-
too.
Very thankful. So.
well, Patty, this was a lot of fun, wasn't
Oh
it?
my gosh, so much fun.
So until next time, everybody, we'll see ya.
On down the road.
Bye.
Travels with Delaney. We'll see you on down the road.